Hello, hello. I have one thing to say.
What's up?
It was Bernie's fault.
What did he do?
He made me go on a live stream.
I
He's
had
like, no,
read
it's
that
cool.
you said it
BEAGS
was
is not
in
going
2
on for
hours,
2
and I
hours.
thought 9 o'clock my time, not 9 o'clock your time, and I'm retarded, and sorry about
An
that.
hour into it, he goes, oh, BEAGS is live. Maybe we should go across. I'm like, what the hell?
What? I mean, I figured I thought maybe I had missed you posting a live, and I didn't even realize it till the last second. I'm like, fuck it, I'm already in it. If I had known you were going live, I'd have held off, but I just missed that somehow.
No, that's all
I
right.
also missed that, messed that up. I'm sorry.
Bernie, come on. You got to get up, sing and dance. It is a flash mob.
Flash mob, flash mob. Tino, get in here. You're watching.
All right.
How you guys doing? Yeah, I'm just we had talked about doing flash mob a while back, and we just never did it, and I just figured why not? I didn't have nothing else to do. I figured let's try it and see what happens.
We got here just late.
We're here. Someone's asking for my link. If you just put AutoDidactic in, you should see lots of orange things. Just click on one of them.
I'll put all your you guys' links in there later.
All right. So,
Bernie, did you get set up? Did I do that right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I was doing that live. Hey, Dino, how you doing? Dino, the link is in the group chat if you get time. I know you're busy tonight. So what do you got? What do you got? Hey, Caleb, how you doing? What are you guys up to these days? I've been so busy, I hadn't been able to really keep track of everything.
Man, what's happening to time? Apart from the fact that it's so busy, like time is just like, oh my god, I can't believe it's Sunday again. Just busy. I'm looking into the whole orphan thing again, like
I saw that. Yeah,
that whole sort of period and what went on, and because I'm just seeing all these links now, which the time we're in now is just like a copy of what was going on in the 1850s, man. It's the same thing. So I'm really sort of looking into that, and I'm sort of going to go back to and get to the 1750s and go forward and try and pinpoint this reset, because we can see it, and I've got the pictures, of all the empty cities, and then the ones of the babies coming in and all this. So there's a big story there, and so yeah, that's where I'm going at the moment.
That's interesting. I've been trying to toy with searches and try to trick the algorithms into searching differently, and I haven't been very successful, but I'm hoping that if I keep playing with it, maybe I'll trigger something. What I'm trying to do is get it to find things in a different way, and one of the things I have been searching is orphans and orphan trains and foundlings and things like that, because there is something going on there. We're going to get to the bottom of it eventually.
And the word foundlings, that's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
right.
Where do you find them?
It's weird.
It's so weird.
It's
I'm
like
just gonna run to the bathroom quick
in
and grab a drink. I'll be back in 5, just as we were doing. And did an hour stream before this.
Fair enough.
Also, I'm going to call Zertis and get him on here, as I talked to him earlier and told him he said he'd be free to do a stream tonight. So I'll get him on here. And then after this is done, I'll probably do a science stream with him as well. But I will be back.
Yeah,
the streaming guy, man.
The whole point of this stream is just for any time that anybody in our research group wants to go live and just go for it and just throw it out there and say, let's just play and talk and chat. No structure, just informal. That's what it is. So any of us in the research group can hold this MUDFLOOD flash mob is the point.
Yes. Yeah, that's something I was toying with as well, is having maybe a monthly kind of creator meetup and just talking about where we are and what's going on, and because a year ago we were just this little corner of the of the internet that no one really knew about, but over the last year, like this whole concept, like I mean, you watch these big channels now, and they're all talking about history is fake, and that's that's all come from our little corner, right? Like, and so now obviously we're seeing a lot of discourse and stuff. So I think we need to sort of
your stream is seems like it's not lagging like it used to. Have you done some changes?
Not at all. No. I did one. It's good today. Yeah, I did one last week, just with one other person.
That's like literally.
It was. I'm still editing it because I've literally got to go on. When you get these videos and they're like,
There's like 5 seconds delay between Australia and North America, though.
Yeah, but the delay doesn't seem very bad tonight.
No.
I don't know. What? Hey, what? Tell me. I was y'all were jibber-jawing earlier about the archaic saying that the mud flood isn't.
I haven't seen. I've just seen some comments on it.
I don't know anything about that. Can y'all give me the lowdown on that?
In Shem's latest video, shout out to Artarian Truth there. Yesterday that he did with Dustin, Bushwhacking History in Buffalo. He played his latest archaic stream breakdown and showed a clip of Jason speaking on mud flood and saying that it's all literally just horseshit that was piled up, and all of it is just horseshit. It's like physical horseshit that is that's all the mud flood is just physical horseshit.
Wait. What? Hold on. Oh, wait a minute. You mean that Archaics is saying that mud flood is actual piles of horse poop?
Yes, exactly.
3 stories of it, man.
Exactly.
Horses may have been bigger back then.
Wow. Are you serious? Are you okay? Now
I'll get the clip to play as soon as I get back from taking a piss here.
I mean,
that's insane.
I thought it was just another one of the joke videos. I didn't really take it seriously. Are you saying that like he was serious?
Yeah, he was 100% serious. A commenter asked about it, and that was his honest response. We'll play it. You'll see.
Wow.
Okay. That's really weird.
Just a bit weird. I mean, we see at the moment, you can search just in the last year for mud floods, and you'll see them happening all around the realm. And I don't think
I thought he was on. I don't really know a whole lot about him, but I thought he was actually on board with mud flood.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought I'd heard him say that. Yeah, there was mud flood, but it wasn't necessarily one realm wide. It was lots of little ones. I thought I'd heard him say that. Maybe that was me.
Yeah, I thought I had too. Maybe I missed something. I don't know. Okay,
I don't know. It's just some weird stuff going on.
Yeah, I saw y'all were going back and forth on it, and I had not heard him say that, so I was confused as to. I thought I was missing something, but I guess I'm not missing anything. Y'all were really laying it out there. That's strange. I don't know. Oh goodness. Let's see
what's going on at the moment. It's just
a really horseshit idea.
Glitches
in the Matrix. I think there's a possibility in that. I think that's actually very, very possible. Changes in the Matrix. Just talking about simulation that they can that things can be changed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, imagine if one of the coders of the simulation just got the land level wrong by a few feet, right? And so all the buildings were like under the ground. I mean, we see some weird stuff out there in photos, right? I mean, clearly the dates on the photos aren't all correct. There's some weird stuff going on there. But I don't know. It seems very simulation-y at the moment, doesn't it? Things are just crazy, you know. And then you tie in Mandela effect and all these, you know, other things. I mean, I think
find a lot of times I'll have two buildings on the same spot, and both of them are mud flood buildings. Yes. And it's like you research these things, and it's like they both exist. You have just as much evidence for one as you do the other, but they're both mud flood buildings, and it's
I call them anomalies. Penn Station, I think it is. Apparently, there was a big like cistern, like a water capture, but it looked like a castle, right? And apparently it was like a, you know, water tank thing. But yeah, on the same site, and then you look at Penn Station, and it's like, what? You're telling me that was built after this holding, you know, Penn Station? I don't think so. No, was, I mean, it must have been one of the biggest buildings in the realm. Like how long it took them years to knock it over because the walls were so thick. Apparently they had to like invent new machinery and stuff just to knock it over. I mean,
one thing, the pictures of Penn Station, I'm always looking for pictures of the pavement lights. And one thing I've noticed is you have many pictures of the construction of Penn Station, but what you do not have is any construction photos of the pavement light in Penn Station. And that to me is a red flag, because that pavement light is all over that station.
Yeah, well, I mean, Penn Station, we've got the photos, it went underground. Like it went down to an underground railway, right? So, but, you know, the whole question of, you know, we've talked about it before, the whole question of photos, you know, in general, we're seeing what can be done. And we know that they're probably 50 years ahead of us in tech. So, you know, we're having to question everything now, right? And even the dating, that, you know, the times. I mean, they give us a photo of a building and they say that was here, this is the address, but that's really, you know, we don't know that it was at that address, do we? That's just, someone could have written anything, just like they could have written any date. So, you know, in the end, you know, all of these buildings may have been at the same time in different spots. We just don't know.
You know, the cornerstones, people say, but the cornerstone, do you know how easy it is to take a cornerstone and put it into a building, or etch into a cornerstone a new date? It's so simple.
Yeah. And cornerstones used to be part of the foundation, but now for some reason, most of the cornerstones are above ground and you can see them.
Yes.
How's that?
Very good point. Because originally the cornerstone was the original first stone that was laid.
Yep.
And everything got mapped leveled off of that. Yep. Exactly. That was the idea of a cornerstone. That's why they say that on the Capitol building that they can't find the cornerstone.
Yeah, well, because it's bloody 7 levels underground.
That's what they say. But they've been underground. They've been down to look for it, and they can't find it.
So yeah, man, I did a video on that. I found these photos of the White House. Did you see that? And like literally inside it, they had like massive like front end loaders and stuff, and they'd ripped out the floor, and they were just digging down inside the White House in the 50s, I think it was. It was ridiculous.
They completely gutted the White House. Excuse me, before I was talking about the Capitol building on the for the
the dome, yeah.
You're right. The White House was completely gutted. The only thing that remained was the facade, the outer
literally just
portion.
The walls. Yep. It's
literally
bizarre.
just the outside wall.
It's just this, like a warehouse, right? Just the walls and a roof, and this big machinery in there digging in the dirt floor. That's bizarre.
Crazy. Who would have known?
This is the thing. You're from the US, and you didn't even get taught that in school, and that would have been what, 20 or 30 years before you were in school. It would have been recent history.
I never heard of that until the first time I heard about it. I was looking into the Library of Congress, and I ran across them, and I'm looking at these pictures, and I'm like, what the hell is this? What White House are they I could not understand what, I couldn't put two and two together, even though they were telling me it was the White House, it was being gutted, and this is who did it, why they did it, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking at them like, what? This doesn't make, what house are they talking about? And I actually had to go do research externally to realize that, wait, that is the White House they're talking about. And it made no sense that why would you not be taught that in school? That seems like so interesting.
It's just crazy, isn't it? It's I don't even know if I've even got those pictures left anymore. Man, I lost so many pictures. I've still got to try and fix my hard drive. But yeah, this is the thing, you know, like the realm we live in is not the realm that we think we live in.
Hey, Campbell, talking about hard drives, I just went through this. I had a 8 terabyte hard drive start to fail on me, and I looked into it really hard, and I figured out what the problem is. It's what's called a SATA board, and these external hard drives, the SATA board fails. And so here's the solution: buy you internal hard drives and get you a hard drive dock. And then you take the internal hard drive and plug it into the hard drive dock, and that will it's got a really good SATA board in it, and that will bypass that problem of the SATA board failure.
Okay.
So that's what you need. If you want a link to the stuff I bought, the dock was like $40, and I got a 4 terabyte hard drive for $130. I'm gonna have to get another one, but that's the solution. I looked into that recently because I had this. They kept failing on me. I was burning through them.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay.
And then you can take your old hard drive and you can open it up. You can search on YouTube, find out how to open it up, get the hard drive out of there, and plug it in to this hard drive dock and save your data.
Yeah, right. Okay. So you upload it all onto a portable.
Well, you literally buy a internal hard drive, which is for the inside of a computer, and then you plug it into this docking station, and then you can either leave it in there, or you can. I've got a case here that's a special case for it, and you put it in there, and it's got the it's a hard disk protection box, and it keeps it from getting magnetized and all that stuff.
Yeah, okay. I probably need one of those too. I'm so bad. Mine just sit on top of my computer.
So that's the way to handle that. Because that is a real and that goes for anybody out there that uses external hard drives. Because hard drives go bad. But it's really helpful to check in.
Bloody crap.
I'm just looking at the chat see here. So what else? Faraday.
I've been looking. I've got some pics of St. Petersburg with no people.
Oh, yeah.
Actually put a video up, but we can have a look at those if you want.
Hey, go ahead and share those. I'm gonna throw some here. Let me full screen you.
Sounds a bit washed out, but
I gotta add it. Okay, there you go. Yeah, take a look at those. I'm gonna put some wood on my wood stove while you're doing that.
All right, cool. All right, so clearly a mud flutter, huge building, antique wood tech and stuff. Excuse me. And no people. So these are St. Petersburg, Russia, 1861. And as you can see, that's what we're used to, right? All the buildings are mud flooded. They're all giant, but there's no people around. Every now and again, you'll see this looks like a horse and buggy. There's a couple of people around, so it looks like this is, when they were cleaning it up, or they were, checking out what they'd found when they've rediscovered this, right? And no, it's not Rome, right? St. Petersburg in Russia, but of course we're told that's Roman. It's not. Check out the size of this column, I guess. It's not really an obelisk, is it? Up here we've got an angel. I hope he's not headless. And of course, these street. Look at the size of these lights. This dude's head. He's not even up to the top of the what's it called, a pedestal, a base. Oh, one person. We found them. Look at this spire. And, yeah, just these huge buildings. Like this is 1 story, by the looks of it. Or maybe it's 2. Okay, 2. So this building's 3 stories, and look at the size of this person. So it's just crazy, right? No, like again, and you see these kind of every now and again at horse and buggy, but these streets are deserted. And look at, you know, the size of these buildings and the build out. Now, this place is built for. I mean, look at the size of it.
That's incredible.
Hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, but it's empty.
You know, I heard, was it Ewar that was saying that these pictures, all it is that the people are moving so fast, they're blurry.
Yeah, you do see that sometimes, but you can see them when they're blurry.
You can see them when they're blurry, yeah.
Yeah, you can see them. Yeah. Like I've got some in here that we'll see soon where you can see them. Now, is that? I don't know. Is that a horse? Because if that's a horse, this building's massive. Maybe. Look at the size of that thing.
That's huge. Like, well, you can tell it's huge.
Yeah, well, yeah, that looks again down there like a buggy. No people. And look at all the buildings, you know, like this is completely built out, finished city. I mean, look at the size of it. And no people. So what are we looking at here? And you know,
and you know what? The all these pictures from the Detroit Publishing Company that were taken, it seems like a lot of times in the pictures it looks like the people are posing, like they've got these people that are just, hey, stand over here, you stand over here, you stand over there, and look like you're walking. And it's like it doesn't even look like real life.
No, and you know, their explanation for that is, but you know, photography was new and it was no one had seen them, so when someone brought out a camera, everyone looked at them. But clearly, that's what that's not what we see. We see set up photos. It's not random people walking, you know, turning around and smiling at a camera. It's
right.
They're all set up.
Now, I will say that in the films, the early films, I learned that they would put up flyers and they would tell people to be at a certain area at a certain time on a certain day, because what they were going to do was they were going to film them and then they were going to show the film in their local theater. And so what it did was it got people to come out, and that's why you see all these masses of people in the old films, because they want to be able to see themselves up on the big screen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it would also help them make the illusion that the cities were fuller, or you know, than they were actually in reality.
Right.
And look, here's the mud flood, Beags. We found it.
that's the pile of horse dung.
There's 2 mud floods. But I mean, look at this. This is a horse and buggy. Right? Look at the size of this building it's next to.
That's redonkulous. That's
isn't it? Like it's almost beyond comprehension. Like, to think that these buildings were built by these people for these people is, it's redonkulous.
With that horse and that cart. Yeah.
With Mr. Ed. So what do you call him? I call him Mr. Ed.
I mean, I do construction, and I'm telling you, it's not easy. And these people were building with brick and stone, and they're building large buildings, and they're working in the mud. They don't even have the technology I have, and I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, no way. Not in that time. Not without power, not without roads and utilities and water.
The roads are a big one. Yeah, the mud roads. I've got some good pictures of those. Look at this. So we've got a half moon underneath a cross. Right?
Yeah.
So they're going to tell us that's Islam and that's Christianity. And then we've got a Christian saint in here. So
It's another Hagia
could be-
Sophia.
Yeah, they're not religious symbols. I mean, look at the size of this. It's just, I mean, look at these buildings. It's just, because look at the front here, right? These are, it's a mud flutter, but that's at least a 3-story building, and we know that's, you know, probably the size of like a 7 or 8-story building. Look at the dome behind it. It just, it's
you know, that's something that annoys me, is how they say, oh, this is a 3-story or a 4-story building, but then it has 2, 3, 4 stories of tower above that, and they don't count that. I count that.
And also the stories, you know, have 20-foot ceilings, you know, so they're 2 or 3 of what we would call story.
I was looking at a video on, I was talking about this earlier, but I was watching a video talking about the Portland Underground yesterday, and the guy was it was like the Cities of the Underworld show, and the you know, the jackass guy that they got on the thing that acts like he's going and investigating these things, he's down there, he's talking to the guy from the Portland Shanghai tunnels tour, and then he kind of just pops off and he says, yeah, you know, this is like, there's 2 more levels underneath this one. They're in the basement, and he just pops off. Yeah, there's 2 more levels under here. That means there's 3 basements. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, hold the phone.
It's just for storing stuff. Come on, you know that, BEAGS.
Unbelievable.
Before refrigeration. Look
I
at this
dropped
fence.
into Cape Town, South Africa earlier, and dropped in on Starfort. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yes. The Castle of Good Hope, Look at, see all these bollards? See the tops of these bollards? If you look at this, it's a fence, right? And then we've got out the front here, looks like they're the same, but there's more exposed. And then we've got the road down here. And of course, we've got mud flooded windows.
Huh.
So you can see that just that bit there has clearly been built up, right? They're like, oh, we can't be digging that out. Let's just heap it up here and lose the fence. Right? Look at this fence. It's like 10 centimeters tall.
That's ridiculous.
And all new trees, right? Look at this.
This is still St. Petersburg, right?
St. Petersburg, yeah.
You know, I think that over there in that area, I think that is very close to the Tartarians. I think
yeah.
I think that what we're looking at is actual remnants of the old Tartarian civilization, the actual Tartarians.
I would agree. And we have the maps, the old maps where, you know, this just above this area, you know, Russia was connected to lands in the north, you know. So was it literally people coming, you know, we hear all this stuff of people coming down from above, but, you know, what's above? Maybe they were just, you know, coming down from the north, right?
Right.
I mean, this looks a bit before the cleanup. We can see this is a lot of mud here, but it looks like this is cobble. And this is the tools of the day. I don't know what that is. It's like, what are they? Seats, troughs? I don't know. But this, you know, wooden fence. Look at this. Look at this rickety wooden fence.
We built that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the level of the skill of the people. But they want us to believe that it's, you know, no, they built this too.
And you know, that's, I want to make a point is that, you know, a lot of times people say that we say that we can't build that. I don't think that we're incapable of building that. I just don't think we did build that. No, I think we can build that given time, but I don't think we built that.
Yeah, I was listening to a video the other day, and I can't remember who it was. It may have been Jay Wiedner. And he was saying he basically showed one of these buildings to his friend who owned a contracting company, like, and who built, you know, buildings, like big buildings. And he said, "Could you build that?" And he said, "Yeah, I could build that." No, he said, "Could you build it without, you know, with unlimited manpower and money?" And he said, "Yes." And he said it would take at least 4 years just to design it, right? And we're told a lot of these buildings are built in a year. And then he's like, then I would need an unlimited amount of money, and, you know, to be 20 years plus with, you know, 10,000 men working kind of. Oh, no, sorry, mate, it was the World's Fairs. It wasn't a building, it was World's Fairs.
Right.
So yeah, so he, you know, yeah, it's possible, but is it feasible? Is it, you know, is it sort of doable? No, because our technology is not, you know, we see all these, and clearly with the amount of buildings, it wasn't that hard for them to put these up. They knew how to do it, you know. So yeah, we could if we really, really wanted to, but I mean, you know,
if we could, if we did, I think we would still do it.
but I mean, would we get the same end product as well? Because they don't even know, you know, how
I don't
these
think
work,
so, but
because these are really machines, right? So we might get something that looks the same, but would it function as the way that these used to function?
oh no, no,
They
no,
don't
no,
understand that, right?
no, no, no.
Just don't get it. And doesn't this look like it's the top of something that's, you know, a bit taller? It's just like someone's ripped the top off a, you know, big tower and plonked it on the ground.
That's just an incredible area. I spend a lot of my effort on America, obviously, because I'm here, but it really is amazing over there.
It is, but see this light? These are all missing their tops. See, that one's got no top, that's got no top, and that's got no top.
Yeah.
How interesting. And see,
That's
these bollards
strange.
are being pushed over, they're not straight. I mean, again, you can see there's been, you know, a bit of leveling out here. These are half buried. And I mean, again, look at the size of that building, man. And, you know, the 4 horses, right? Is that telling us, you know, something's already happened, right? The 4 horses of the apocalypse. And
it's got a very clean sky too, I notice.
Yes, it does. Yes, it's very, very vanilla-ish. But I mean, look at this. And at this point, we've got clean streets, cobblestone. Of course, lights in the middle of the street and here. And what are they running on? Where's the gas bottle if they're gas? And even if they were gas, we know that they're still standing and they're now all electric. So at what point did they come in and rip up all the ground and put electric cables into all these lights? We don't see that anywhere.
Yeah, that's weird.
They're sort of there, right? So were they already electric, you know, this is 1860s? But I mean, look, it just looks like an old town that's been, like an old place that's been cleaned up, right? It's ready for the new arrivals. I mean, there's just no one here.
That's strange. That's really weird. I mean, there should be, with that much architecture, infrastructure, there should be a shit ton of people.
There should be.
That's
here we go again. The tech of the day. All right, 2 bits of wood.
What is that?
Just a makeshift fence kind of thing, I think.
It's like a sheep fence or something.
Yeah, you see that kind of stuff in wars and that they use them probably just to trip people up. But there we go. We've got someone. We've got a horse and a person. So look at the size of that person compared to this building. Come on.
Why would you need something that big? What would be the purpose behind that? In that time period,
it would go against you because it would take up so much time, effort, and resources that it would bring the rest of your civilization to a standstill, right?
You know, I spent all day today splitting wood from a 70-foot sycamore tree. Okay, that's what I did all day long. I got it split up, but that is for firewood for me to keep me warm. Now, how do you keep that warm? How much wood would it take to keep that warm? That's what I want to know. And where are the trees to do that?
Yep, we're talking Russia. It snows here, gets cold.
It gets real cold.
Yeah, exactly. So completely not practical.
No.
At all. Here we have these bollards are everywhere, man. Look at them, but they're all half buried.
People don't think about the simple things like where did they get the firewood from? Where did they get their water from? Where did they grow their food? Where are all these simple living off grid things happening? Where?
And then look at this, right? I mean, imagine
mountains,
you know, the engineering and the plumbing and the understanding of pressure, and you know, I would think it would have to have some kind of machinery, right, to blow this much water. Look at it. But at the same time, they didn't have bathrooms in the houses. Right? So they clearly knew how to plumb.
Of course. Yeah. Well, it's like Versailles. They plumbed, they made this amazing plumbing system to bring the water uphill.
Yep.
It was phenomenal. And they get it all the way to the Palace of Versailles, and they plumb the fountains, and then they don't put in a shitter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The machine of Marley, right? They built.
And then you've got the hotel in Florida. Oh, help me out here. The famous one. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
St. Augustine.
We need Old World, Florida. I can't remember it, but yes, that one.
It'll come to me. There's a hotel, and they did not put any bathrooms in the entire hotel. It's like 500 rooms or something. And then they were open 1 week and decided they needed to put in bathrooms, and they started putting in bathrooms the week after they opened.
Yeah, exactly. So they built the whole thing and didn't think about, we're building this as a hotel. At some point, someone may want a bathroom or a toilet. No, they forgot about that until they'd opened, and people went, "Where's your toilet?"
Right, and the fact that all of these fountains, this insane aquifers, like hydraulics and plumbing that they're doing, it's just ridiculous to claim that they wouldn't be also putting in toilets for these royalty, these elites. Like,
it's like in my Raleigh, North Carolina research, they talk about how there was only small wells here and there around the city, and how there was a fire and they had trouble putting out the fire. But then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, what about the underground canal that goes underneath the entire city that we have zero records for and is completely built out of stone?
Yes.
They just completely bypass that.
Yeah. I think I put a video up. I think it's on my second channel, where I was looking at maps of like Paris and that back in the day, and you know, they've all got these canals going through them, right? But they've all got, there's bridges everywhere. So when you look at the map, the canal, when you see it, it's literally, you just see little parts of it. So I was just thinking, it wouldn't have been that much work for them to just fill in those bits.
No,
you know, so it's a full road, and then you've got a river underneath, right? That people forget about. I mean, so they're all canals.
Yep.
I think that have been covered up. Look at the Antiquitech here.
Yep.
Look at that.
And I think the train systems were already here too.
Oh, totally. I think
all over
probably
the world.
They were using them to clean out the dirt and stuff, right? Out of the city.
I think what they did was they put those steam shovels on the tracks outside the cities, and they went into the cities and dug the tracks out as they went in. And that's why when you go in and look at the cities, if you're in the outskirts of the city, you'll notice everything looks flat and normal, but as you get in the city, it starts digging in.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, there's a building in Raleigh that a friend of mine, he owns a demolition company, and there's a building right beside the train tracks that they just demolished. And when he was getting ready to go demolish the building, I said, well, you're going to find a basement there. He goes, no, there's no basement. I said, no, there's going to be a basement there. So he dug in there, and when they got to they had to take out the concrete floor. They opened up the concrete floor, and they found a basement. And so they dug down and dug that out and found windows and doors in it. And then when they got to the bottom of that basement, they found another basement. They dug that down 17 feet, and it was a stone foundation going down. And they got to where the excavator couldn't dig any further, the one that they had there. And they did not have the permission to dig any further, but they found that this thing had not one basement, but two basements that nobody knew about. And it went 17 feet below the first basement. Yeah. So we're talking a massive drop underground that nobody knew. And it was right beside the train track. Matter of fact, the reason they had to dig out the basement was because they had to shore it up because of the train track.
Yeah. crazy, isn't it?
It's insanity. And when they were
So-
digging it out, they found I can't remember if it's the first or second basement. They found 2,000 I believe they're 18. I've got one in my yard. He brought me one 18-inch, 2-inch wide stone grinding wheels with lead centers. 2,000 of them.
2,000.
2,000.
Wow. That's crazy.
And I got him to save me one. I said, please save those. And he brought me one. So I have one.
Well, that's good. What happened to the rest of them? Oh.
I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but they did save the wood. They got wood that's about 12 inches by 3 inches. The wood that made the floor system.
Oh,
they saved the wood.
That's thick wood.
Yeah.
So this is the 1870s now, and you start to see people appearing. So the first photos with the empty streets was 1861. So this is 12 years later.
Wow.
And we're starting to see all these of dirt, right? Popping up. And this road, it's cobblestone, but it doesn't look freshly laid, does it? It looks freshly uncovered. I mean, there's bits of dirt and stuff all over it.
Yeah, it's rough.
So it looks like this story, right? Of we've got these empty cities that, the few, skeleton crew
It's
cleaning
absolute
out.
BS that they claimed that it wasn't able to capture people in that photography of that time, because it's like you see carriages, stuff sometimes, or like a single person here or there.
So there's a dude there, and he looks like a ghost. And
another dude digging right next to him to the left.
Yeah.
When there are people in the photo,
they digging out?
You do see them. I call them ghost. They kind of ghost.
Yeah, you see them all everywhere.
Well, see, that right there could be actually. Can you zoom back in on that? Like, is that guy under? Yeah, he's actually down. He's in the ground. Yeah. I was about to claim that might be a guy cleaning horse shit. And it's just like, but even that's way too much. That's actual dirt. That guy's in the ground digging.
Hey, hold right there, Campbell.
Yo.
Can you zoom into that picture right at the bottom of the obelisk for me? I want to make a point. Okay, whoa, right there, perfect. Okay, you see those 4 sets of lights on the corners?
Yeah.
Okay, y'all need to pay attention to those, because what I'm finding is that those lights in a lot of places were removed. That is part of the Antiquitech system. And I'll tell you how I figured this out. When I was studying the obelisk in Raleigh, North Carolina, I had one of the oldest pictures, actually the picture of when they had the commensuration of the obelisk to the city, or to the state. They had a ceremony where they had the opening of the obelisk, where they were saying, hey, look what we built, blah, blah, blah. And in the photograph, there you could see these anomalies, but I couldn't make them out. And I didn't know what they were, and I had never seen them before. And then later on, I found another photo, and in that photograph were those lights, just like that. And I thought, wait a minute, those lights have never been there. So I researched the lights and found out that the story goes, they installed these lights, and at the opening, they were in the shot. And then 2 weeks later, they removed them and then took them to the governor's mansion and installed them. And now they've disappeared, and nobody's seen them since.
Well, it does sound like the government. They do love to put things in the wrong spot and then take them out and move them. But yeah, likely story. But I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, look what we've got here. It's even pointing up, right? Is this drawing down energy and lighting the lights, right?
I think those were I think the obelisk were the main energy collector and transmitter for the cities. And I think that if you really get into it, I think you're going to find those things in almost every city and every town, if not every city and every town. And I think a lot of them were removed. And if you go look in your local cemetery, you're going to find them.
Oh my God, it's a
A
construction
little
photo.
bit more on the obelisks, Beags and Campbell. You always bring back, I believe it's a destroyed obelisk. I think it was in Dresden or somewhere in
Yeah.
Germany, and it's filled with metal, and it's not like a solid rock
Yep.
at all, but like just crazy amounts of metal where it's actually looking like an antenna of some sort. And then David Soretta, if you do, you know who David Soretta is? Beags, you're
I've heard the
nodding,
name,
or
but no, I don't.
okay, no, yeah, he's like a originally UFO researcher, journalist, then free energy and like over unity and hyperdimensional stuff. I'm
Okay.
gonna actually be having him on an episode fairly soon, and he was on APEC. Does a lot.
He's on
with
YouTube.
Rex on Leak project as well.
He's on YouTube.
Yeah, but he does a lot of like the numbers, mathematics, as well as frequencies. And actually, Matthew Rife talks about David knows him, Soretta, quite well and works with them too. But he goes into all the measurements of all of the sacred sites, and then all of like the what were we talking about? The pillars, the obelisks, sorry.
Oh, the obelisks.
Part there, the obelisks, and that the one in Washington, D.C., as well as I think in like Luxor, and then like the ones that got moved into the UK and France or something, they're all like the same proportions and size of like these frequencies and harmonics, and has written full books on and papers on this research mathematics explaining it and proposing that they're actually these broadcasting devices and like of like energy for like conscious like mind sort of interference, almost like mind control things. How they
Have
work.
you seen the obelisk at the Washington Monument that is 13 feet tall and it's below the ground?
No.
No. There is a mirrored a miniature Washington Monument obelisk on the circle of underneath the ground on the outer perimeter, and they say that they had it there for designing and the Washington Monument, and then now it's covered over and it's got a brick tube covering the sides of it, and you can't see it, but I've got video of it. But there's a 13-foot obelisk below the ground at the Washington Monument.
Wow,
that's crazy. Right? And like why and how, and right, like
I don't know.
Look, we've got a horse-drawn tram.
Leftover Antiquitech for sure.
When
Yeah,
do
like
they
just
look
so
freshly-
little people to what.
Yeah.
to
So these look
every, like,
freshly dug out, these tracks, and come on, hardly even there.
What
We've
could
got 'em being pulled
possibly
by a
have
horse.
been the
Like-
justification for building such
Building,
massive,
Well,
beautiful structures?
I
in
was
this
just
time?
thinking the same thought. Same
this
thought.
in the
Gabe,
background.
same thought. Like,
size of this city. It's
like who? They don't even have enough people, yet alone to the reason of why, or how did they even get the resources to do all? Like, it's so
Yes.
ridiculous to see
this is-
compared to
I
their
always thought that these
level of
people
life. And
were trying to like feed their families, and they were hunting and pillaging, and they were trying to get dinner on the table, and they were trying to go to work, and no, they're building this grand architecture. That's what
exactly that they don't even inhabit or use afterwards, right? Like,
yeah. Sorry, get out. This is for the government. I mean, wow, look at this house, because I mean, this looks like a normal wooden house, right? But check out the size of it. These are people. This is huge.
That's a good point. I believe that the old world also built in wood, and I think that is apparent in the mansions. If you look into the mansions, that you'll find a lot of the mansions were constructed of wood, and you can build out of wood, which you can't build out of stone and brick.
Yeah, and there was definitely
and
a
lots
lot
of them
wood
half
work on the
too, right?
inside.
Where it's like
Half, yeah. Like
Look
brick
at people
walls
back.
and wood roofs and things like that. Yeah, definitely.
So look
But I
at
think
this.
a lot of
See
people
this?
forget that. They think, oh, well, we only built in wood. No, they built in wood too.
They just did it better and used better wood and did it properly and covered it properly so it would last.
Yep.
But look, is this a horse? This thing? You know,
That,
I mean,
looks like mud tracks from horses.
Isn't that in the air?
Like the
Covering
to the
these
right a
people
little
behind?
bit more.
It
Looks
does
like
look
a horse.
like a
Can you
horse.
zoom in a little bit more?
See this bit?
It kind of does look like a horse.
Could have been. Oh, could have been that. Would see that's moving, right? It
That's moving,
captured.
yeah, this one's
Yeah,
on
it
the
captured
ground.
them
Yeah.
moving. There you go.
So,
See,
so
yeah,
this is
yeah.
this is what
Good call.
apparently doesn't exist, right? That's what happens when something's moving in a photo. You see a streak, you don't see nothing.
Exactly.
And look at the dirt here, right? You reckon they're cleaning something up?
Right.
And the people are starting to come back.
And that's dirt with rocks, not horse shit. Not
Yeah.
piles of horse shit. And do you mind if I just interrupt for a sec, Campbell, and play that clip? I found the timestamp of it.
Okay. Oh.
Just since we're talking about the horse shit, and then we'll go back to the real photos.
Right, I'm just going to run to the toilet. I'll be back.
And let me
Well, this
know
is
if
the
you guys found-
archaics. Okay,
sir.
I haven't seen this.
Oh, this is okay. I'll say and watch this, and then I'll run.
Listen, I'm tech retarded, guys. I'm really not like you think.
Does the sound
Not
work?
like you think at all.
Yeah, up a bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Matt is though. It's weird.
Really tech retarded. So,
Interesting.
One eternity later.
UFOs, high technology is not evidence of UFOs.
Oh yeah, that's part. He debunks the mud flood right here.
Remember, guys, we humans, we got to take credit where credit's due. Horse and buggy, 200 years ago, we were on horse and buggy. Look where we're at today. Walk down Manhattan, Fifth Avenue. Look at where we're at today. Yeah, 200 years ago, you couldn't have walked down the street like that. No, 200 years ago, there were buckets and horse troughs and wash stations in front of every building in all the cities. Why? Because you walked through horse shit everywhere you went. 200 years ago, horse shit was a problem. And when automobiles were invented, the media in the world industrial complex came together and praised the invention of automobiles as the savior of the world. Yeah, guys, some of these mud flood pictures you're seeing from all these old cities, that's not mud, guys. It was very common in the 1800s during the beginning of the industrial age. Yeah, before there was automobiles, but we had factories everywhere.
Yeah.
And cities were overpopulated. Everybody
being serious? He's being dead.
It was a major problem because there was nobody who had jobs to clean up horse
Look,
shit.
there's no sidewalk.
Whoa, 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 what? Wait,
The
what?
guy
Is that
got
his
paid
picture?
for
Years
it,
in
literally.
the mid-70s. And wash
So-
stations in front of every building.
How did
in
the
all
trams
cities.
work?
Why?
Hold
Horse
the boat.
shit
Hold,
everywhere.
wait a minute.
Trams
Wait a
work.
minute. Hold the boat. Hold. Did he just say that there was nobody that their job was to clean up the horse shit? Did he just say that?
No, he said there was literally someone whose job was to clean up the horse shit.
Play that again.
Where you went 200 years ago, horse shit was a problem.
You know,
And when automobiles were invented, the media in the world industrial complex came together and praised the invention of automobiles as the savior of the world. Yeah, guys, some of these mud flood pictures you're seeing from all these old cities, that's not mud, guys. It was very common in the 1800s during the beginning of the industrial age. Yeah, before there was automobiles, but we had factories everywhere.
Yeah.
And cities were overpopulated. Everybody
being serious?
had horse.
He's being dead.
It was a
and
major
he
problem
just said that the cities were
because there was nobody who
overpopulated.
had jobs to clean up horse
Look,
shit.
What if
there's
we
no
just-
sidewalk.
And horse
They
shit
were
was all
underpopulated.
The guy cleaning, that guy
years
got
and
paid to
years
clean up
and
horse shit,
years and
literally.
years accrued of horse shit. And the
And-
streets were
Oh, maybe he
steadily
did say
cleared
nobody,
by
and then
by
showed
people traversing
otherwise.
it, by more horses and
Ancient alien.
carriages and wheels. Yeah,
But
so
see-
what happens? It gets pushed to the curb.
I don't get this at all.
Yeah, no
It was
sidewalk.
just paved. Everything
Sidewalk, sidewalk,
was
sidewalk.
pavers and brick.
I mean,
And listen, just
I don't
covered
get
and
that at
buried
all.
in horse shit.
if there was
Automobile
that
was
much
the
horse shit,
savior of all the cities. because of
we
that.
would be seeing these
a
horse
little
shit
tangent, guys.
collected
You know I
in all the
entertain
photos,
tangents all
right?
the
That would
I
be
could-
something that we would all know about, right? There's another bloody horse shit because they would be out in the photos collecting horse shit. But I've never
Exactly,
seen
and
anyone,
literally, yeah,
or
bring
maybe
that
once
photo
or
back
twice
up,
you see
Cam. We'll share
someone.
again. Show like you literally see it's rocks and mud and dirt, and horse shit is horse shit clumped in pieces of horse shit,
And
not
grass.
dug up in the ground. Yeah, like
Okay, I'm dumbfounded.
we could make the buildings, but
and they were
couldn't shovel the horse
overpopulated
shit.
at the time that you're showing all the pictures of not a single person in the streets.
Yeah, exactly right. They're not overpopulated, so
I mean, I've heard
anyway,
some
I'll be
dumb
back in a
shit
tick.
studying this, but that was one of the dumbest things I've heard yet. I can't believe he said that.
It is true, and this from my
Okay, I see what y'all were going on about earlier. I was missing it.
and that's what triggered me. That's what
Okay, yeah, well, I get you now. That's very strange that he would make that comment because that is very easy to debunk. I mean, wow. Okay, all right. Well, that happened. I don't even know where to go with that other than that's one of the dumbest things I've heard to date. I'm gonna have to say that.
Yeah.
I normally leave our look.
I'm
mean,
gonna leave the rest of it alone. I'm not gonna go on a rant or a tangent.
No,
Just
no,
that one
I'm just
part.
that's just I'd completely disagree with that assessment.
As do I.
I would. It's like where do you start to okay, explain, basements, sub basements, sub basements, sub basements. I mean, how many levels of horse shit do I need to go down before you pull your head out of your
And
ass?
that's all of that is like mud, clay, and definitely not composted or petrified horse manure.
And when did they put the cobblestone roads on? Was that before or after the horse shit? And what about the horse shit that's on top of the cobblestone roads? And then below that, what do you got? Basements. Where do you start with that? I don't even. It's like, oh wow, okay, that's all good. It's all good. And it did okay. Now I'm thinking about something else. I'm thinking about how the bear who should not be named is talking about how Antiquitech isn't real, and that's just driving me crazy because it's like, really, dude, are you that far behind the curve? And it's like what was the same guy was talking about the finials and the antennas and all that being ways to talk to the dead. I mean come on, man. I mean, bricks, we know that they store batteries, that
They
they're
store energy and can be batteries now. Exactly, especially the red ones with the iron in it. And this right here is a video from my good friend Matthew Rife, great nephew or twice nephew, something related to the original Royal Raymond Rife, and has access to all of his patents and now working on his technology and furthering and whatnot. Anywho, do a lot of shows with him. He was on 2 nights ago, and then yesterday, him and his partner Hunter filmed this one where with the drone they take up one of the Rife star coils that he's using here, connected to a wire of copper, and actually are harnessing electricity, real energy, real power out of the atmosphere simply from the height. And this is exact proof of concept that this is how it was done, or it's possible and doable, and that very easily to extend even higher up off of the top of the steeples, they could have used a balloon with more wire, anything. And even many of the steeples are tall enough to get big enough differential between the ground and the top to get a voltage charge usable out of it, as well as who knows all the amplification between the mercury, the antennas, and everything else they had going on.
It's my understanding that the higher up, the more etheric energy that you can obtain.
The more electrical, straight electrical energy, voltage, and shock, straight charge you get out of the differential between it.
So higher is better.
The higher the better.
Which is why they build the buildings so high today, because they're still using it.
Right? Like I think so, and then also why they have straight steel rods going down into the ground. Like makes sense.
Beautiful clear
Use the
sky.
electric of the glass around them. Yeah, that actually does make sense.
That's a copper wire there on the ground.
Yeah, straight copper wire. I think you said 32 gauge, but I could be wrong. Could be 16.
Else, checked all the flight paths, checked all the airports, everything around. We're good to go. Man, we got beautiful scenery too. You guys can see.
Wow, he's really high.
We are at too many feet. Oh boy, not too many. Yeah, I do have a pilot's license, but I mean too many on the voltage. Okay, we're at 1,100 feet.
Wow.
1,128. Now we're gonna let this sit. Hunter and I are gonna, for one, we're gonna cut this wire. No, don't cut it yet. Well, we're gonna strip it. I'll let you do it. I'll strip it. So we're gonna cut it. So I want it to make connected. So I don't lose it. Once we read it out, we'll disconnect it. And I'll get set up for the voltage meter. I think I can zoom in. See Hunter stripping the wire carefully.
Huh.
Last time we did this. How many times you get shot, Hunter?
A lot.
It's quite a bit.
Cut the wire.
So there's energy going through that line right now?
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. That's why they're wearing the thick leather gloves. On the stream with me and Cambell and right the other night, he showed his TikTok video the first time they did this, and his partner Hunter wasn't wearing gloves, and he got like shocked a few times every time he touched the wire.
What kind of voltage are we talking?
I think they're going to be showing on the voltmeter right now here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, move your hand. There you go. Now we got it. We got a clean shot on it. Hook up. 96. Plus, there's so much leakage that's coming out of all this. Like, so much. It's pretty clean. And plus, we're not even on copper. We're just in a still pole.
That pole only goes like 2 feet.
And this is just straight off the air. Is the
Yes, sir. From the coil connected, lifted up to the with the drone to a wire going down, and then I think they're grounding off that pole.
And this is a clear day. There's no plasma activity.
Who was the guest you had earlier? Who was that? Because I didn't know that person.
Luke, Ancient Historia. He's rather newer channel, but blowing up by doing a lot of good work, putting out a good solid video a day.
I had not heard of them, so I'll check them out.
Yeah, I only I saw the first video of him only about a month ago, I think. Let's see, or maybe less than that. It was his Antarctica video, maybe only a couple of weeks, to be honest. But he's been doing so much and good stuff.
You know, that kind of looks familiar. I might have run across them and didn't know who they were.
Pretty sure this is the first time he was showing his face or came on like camera.
Where's he out of?
2 weeks ago. The UK. Yeah, 2 weeks ago he put out this.
Well, maybe I don't know. Y'all tell me. Maybe he might be a candidate for coming into the research group.
I absolutely believe so. Yeah, this was the one.
Next generation. He's only 28. He looks like he's 20. That'll be nice. He looks young.
Oh yeah,
He looks younger than
yeah,
28,
looks
but
like
he's
he's
28.
20.
Very good.
Good to see some
video
younger
did
people getting into it.
about the
okay.
old maps and whatever is at the south of.
And he can tell us all the hip new things to say, right? We can become cool.
Yeah.
Where was you? But what was really awesome was he got some of the translations of stuff written on some of the old Tartaria maps.
That was awesome.
Especially going over this area that used to be called Gog and Magog.
Okay, again, it's Ancient Historia.
Yep.
Ancient Historia.
Right. Okay. I'm not subscribed. I'm gonna subscribe.
This one right here. I'll post the link in the live chat.
Okay, I just subscribed to him. Okay, that's a new one on me. I'm
not very old.
Finding new ones. It's great.
He's only a couple of months. I've only sort of
and like the thing is, he's gaining like 400 or 500 subscribers every single day, and it's like 2 weeks ago he was at like under 1,000, I think, and it's like that's what we all should be if we learned on the freaking
interesting to see
shadow ban BS.
As he gets higher, it'll be interesting to see if they get onto him and do anything.
I think I'm the king of shadow ban.
They seem to
wear the crown.
Well, this is it. Like the people who stay on, because when I talk, I always tend to go off and talk about other stuff as well, right, and the system and all that. And that might be it, because there's the ones that stay and just talk about history and nothing else. They don't. You see their videos and they don't seem to be shadow banned. They're what's that dude Jimmy who's got who does the history
Cambell,
stuff?
remember
He's got a million subscribers.
Yeah, and if you remember, Cambell, like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, you'd covered that one like Australian rally, like anti-lockdown rally, and they like locked you out of your channel for like 3 months, your main one, and freaking put you in the box ever since, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. I've never come back. Like I'm supposed to get. In my stats, it says that I should be getting 2,000 to 3,500 subs every month.
Yeah,
and I've been. It literally takes me 3 or 4 months to go up 1,000 subs if I'm lucky.
They will give me 50 new subscribers a week. That's it. I'm allowed 10 new subscribers 5 days out of the week. Honest to God, it's like that for 3 months now. And I go into Social Blades and check it. It's like this day you gained 300 subscribers, and then you in that same day lost 290.
I know, right? So
I haven't
even though we
experienced
know
that.
you're not Elon, can you just buy YouTube and sack with Jiki and do what you did to Twitter? We don't care about your past and your family. Just throw us a bone, mate.
Indeed, and
joke.
It's crazy.
So what else is going on in the community? Like what's the? Is there anything else new that's that you're running across? I don't have the. I've been so overworked lately. I just have not had time to keep up with like the ins and outs of the community.
I mean,
and
there's a lot of stuff going on with the free energy and the alchemy, and BurnEye's making heaps of really good connections. Like I said, with the great nephew of Royal Raymond Rife. Of course,
so the Hutchinsons. We're going to be doing the crystal battery here maybe tomorrow.
Making crystal batteries and talking a lot about pyramid power and how it's the geometry of the angles of the top that actually create the energy, which is interesting because the Great Pyramid is missing its capstone, right? Which means the geometry's all messed up. Yeah, so lots of interesting stuff going on, but it's all connected and interconnected, and it's kind of we're starting to, I guess, understand more how it all worked. We can see it all, and we've put all these theories out. Now it looks like people are actually going, right, how do we remake this? How do we build this? How are they doing this? What's the actual story here? You know, that's what I'm looking into, is what the hell happened in the reset. Because, you know, my big thing, and I've seen it from the start, is you look at the 1700s, you know, the 1770s, 1780s, you know, these ornate carriages, and everyone's got these amazing clothes on, and, you know, Louis XV desk, which is so amazing. It's in a bloody museum, and even picture frames, right? They just, whoa, amazing. And then you hit the first photos and picture 1800s. It's all gone. Everything's been stripped. Everyone's in black suits. There's no art left anywhere. There's clearly a big change going on in that period.
Something happened. I mean, it's like, even if you really look at your family history, you go back to that period, and the whole history goes wonky. The stories get very elaborate and like odd, and like I'm going back to my family history, and I'm like, yeah, I think some of that's bullshit. I think a lot of that's bullshit.
I was reading the comments in one of my orphan videos, and the amount of people that were saying, yeah, my, you know, grandma was an orphan, my granddad was an orphan, you know, like everyone's just saying, yeah, my relatives are orphans, or either that, or I have no idea of my family history. So, you know, we have this collective idea that we all have.
Do the orphans even remember that they were orphans? Because
exactly,
one of the things that I ran across in my research of the orphans is that when they took a child off the train and they said, okay, here's your new family, they told those kids to forget their past.
Yeah.
Forget their family. This is your new family. Forget your past. Now, if you tell that to a child, what do you think that child's going to think?
Then probably that the past was bad. I don't know.
They're going to do what they're told.
They're going to do what they've programmed to do is what they're going to do. But I mean, we don't know. What if they were even saying, you know, oh, this is your family. You know, we found your family again. Here you go. We're giving, you know, because if they were orphans from babies, how would they even know? Right.
Why would they? Okay, if you're an orphan from a baby and somebody finally gives you a family, are you even going to give a damn?
Exactly. You just be so happy, right? If you didn't remember
to have a family.
Yeah. Wow. Food and a roof. I'm into it. And the other
I don't
thing
have
I'm
to live
thinking
with
about,
the 50 other kids that are, you know, picking on me and stealing my food.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to give a damn. You're going to want that family.
And the ones that didn't get adopted or, you know, sent out to families and that, they all got sent to the factories, right? And then so it's made me think, you know, we have this big story of the Industrial Revolution, right? You know, what was that? I'm thinking I need to look into that, because when you look into the photos, it looks like there was an Industrial Revolution in the 1850s, and it was basically, let's throw all the orphans into the factories and get them running again.
There is a picture site on the internet called Monovision, I think. And I haven't looked at it in years, and I meant to go back and look at it again, but they have an entire section of nothing but children, the labor children, the ones that were used, the child labor pictures. And there are thousands of these pictures on there. And I've always wanted to kind of go back and look at that, because maybe there's some answers in that.
I mean, so we're just not told any of this. Why is it all so hidden?
When I was doing my Raleigh research, I found not one but two orphanages in Raleigh that I never even knew existed.
Probably because you thought that they were palaces.
No, one of them turned into they used it for a college later, and the other one, it halfway burned to the ground, and then it was also turned into a high school, which is really weird. This is actually interesting. There's this school It was an orphan. It was a Catholic orphanage, and they had a fire, and some children died, and then years later, there was a Catholic high school that took over the property, and they made the high school there, and it was called Cardinal Gibbons High School, and it was the high school there for 40 years. Now, I know for a fact that that school was on that property because one time I went to a basketball game there when I was a child. And so I went to the property. But here's what's weird. Later in the 90s, I believe it was, they built a new building. No big deal. But then when I went back to find pictures, I've got pictures of the orphanage and I've got pictures of the new school. But when you go to look for pictures of the 40 years that the high school was at the old orphanage, not one picture. 40 years and not one picture of a Catholic high school.
Yeah, exactly right. And I was thinking before, isn't it interesting that, you know, all these children were raised, you know, by nuns and priests, people who don't have children, who don't know how to raise children. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So this is that site. This is monovisions.com.
Hold on. I gotta do this thing.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. All right. Yes, that's it. Yes. What's it called? Because I haven't looked at it
it's
in
just
years.
monovisions.com, and it's got a search bar. So I just put in child labor. Yeah.
Yes. And there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. So, and this is one thing I've noticed is there's a lot. And I've always, you know, we always question where do the clothes come from. There's so many these child labor, and they're always all in these textile factories. It's bizarre.
And the Newsies.
And
Textiles,
Newsies. And of course, the Newsies, the children were that was the first union and the first what do you call it when you stop work? God, I'm losing it. That they were the first ones to stand up and say, give us better wages, give us better conditions, and all this kind of stuff. And they were just all orphans. But this is the thing. Like is this the Industrial Revolution? Because look at this. This looks like a found photo. Look at all the dirt, you know, the black on the wall and stuff. This doesn't look, you know, gaps in the floor. It doesn't look like a new building, right? Even this machinery, like it found and just reused. Oh, she does not look happy.
No, she's miserable. Poor thing.
These guys. Now, I think these guys I think they're oyster shuckers. And like, look at the age, you know, some of these kids are like 6. I mean, look at
these
them.
are amazing photographs. I remember these being
6
really
years
good.
old. I mean, imagine that, like at the age that we send kids to, you know, their first year of school, these guys are getting sent to work in a factory 10 hours a day. And look, and the other thing is the clothes, right? The clothes all look like they're good, right? High quality, but they just look old and worn and not the right size.
Right, not the right size. Like they don't look like they were made for them.
No, exactly. And I was thinking, you know, here we go. Suspenders. Were they invented because none of these people's pants fit them?
Good point. I mean, they had belts back then, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. This guy here, he's got suspenders, but he doesn't have the belt straps, does he? He doesn't have the loops. Because you can imagine it's pretty easy to just throw a couple of buttons on and then just make these throwovers.
Huh.
But it's just, see, look, all in loom, all these looms, right? They're all in textile factories, man. Like, what's going on?
In Raleigh, there's textile factories everywhere. They're all over the place.
And look at these guys with their, you know, expensive, well-made jackets on, and they're just old and dirty. They're wearing them to work. You know, none of their pants fit them. Look, they're either too big or too short.
A lot of times they don't have shoes on also. Look at their feet.
Yep. Exactly.
Many pictures of children with no shoes. Matter of
working
fact,
in
I've got a
factories.
picture from where was it might have been in my Raleigh research where they had a sale at a shoe store, and there's thousands of people lined outside the shoe store for a sale on shoes. Now, what
Oh,
does that
wow.
say? That's weird.
Yeah.
That is very weird.
And these are some of the criminals, right? Children criminals, 1870s. 14 years old, sentenced to 7 days hard labor. Oh, he doesn't look very happy. 15, sentenced to 14 days hard labor. Oh, he's a holy man. He's got his holy clothes on. But, you know,
That looks like the Artful Dodger right there.
this guy does. I was about to say that too, yeah.
He's great. That's a great photo. Oh, that's a
That's
good one
great
too.
movie. I was talking to one of my sons like years ago and about school, and he said, "Oh, we just watched Oliver Twist," and I was like, "Oh yeah, right. Do you like the songs and that?" And he's like, "Songs?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's a musical." And he's like, "No, there's no songs in it," and they remade it, and it's got no songs in it.
Huh? Really?
Yeah, they remade it, the movie, and not as a I mean, what the hell?
Huh? I don't think I've seen that.
No, I don't want to see it. God, kill my childhood memories. See, look at this jacket he's got on, and he's got a vest on. It's like a 3-piece suit, but look at it. It's just ripped and dirty and clearly very old and worn. And same here. I mean, and look at these kids, man. They're all young. Who's looking after them? I mean, clearly they're out there on the street.
At a time where people are wearing their
stealing.
Sunday best every single day in these pictures.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Do you reckon that jacket's a little bit small for him?
Yeah. There's no way.
But it's all for stealing. And like clearly these were orphans or street kids just trying to eat, right? Look at this guy's jacket. Wow. And so what does the system do? It throws them in jail. And then no doubt just throws them back on the street again at the end of the week. So this is the thing, right? I mean, there's collective trauma, man, in our society.
100%.
And they altered the whole population.
Over and over again, and that's like what Graham Hancock, his term of a species with amnesia is what he calls humanity, and it's done by design to intentionally traumatize us, get the epigenetics continued of this trauma, of this not knowing who we are, and then the dividing, the conquering, the abuse, and the continued cycles of trauma to not figure it out and forget who we are and where we truly came from. And thank God and humanity that we are overcoming it. We are coming together. We are trying to be as uniting as possible, as truthful as possible, figuring it out and awakening to take control and build a better future for all of us.
I mean, this is what it's all about, right? That they spent all this time making sure we didn't know who we were, where we were, or when we were. And that was all so they could step in and go, I will tell you, this is who you are. This is what's going on. This is the time frame. But clearly that's all wrong. So that's why this kind of research is so important, is it's literally we're rediscovering our story.
I was thinking about the other day about the seminary schools and how there was thousands of seminary schools. And it made me wonder if the reason there was so many people going to seminary school is that they needed to indoctrinate the people that were to indoctrinate the people.
Yeah,
and so
the whisperers, man, the whisperers.
Right.
Yeah.
They had to teach the narrative to somebody to because you can't teach everybody at one time, especially with no communications.
How's that word, man? Seminary, right? They all got in seminaried with the new
the Jesuit disorder.
Yeah.
From the raping and pillaging of the old world and the new, and all of the indigenous populations, whether it was Celtic white in Ireland or Caucasian throughout northern or middle Eurasia of like Tartaria and stuff, or Africa or South America, everywhere, right? It's like they've turned absolutely everybody on everybody the best they could and tried to erase and destroy and demonize everybody's indigenous cultures, societies, beliefs, and way of living as much as possible from the get-go. And then this new melting pot of globalism that supposedly is so good, but it's just this parasitic control system.
It's just getting bigger, right? Started off taking over communities and towns, and then went on to cities and kingdoms, and now the whole realm.
You know, that's something that was annoying me about Ewar, where he was saying that we were a communist plot for a one world government.
Yeah.
Really? I missed that part. Wow.
That was
we're all
such
communists.
horseshit on his part. That is
and the
absolutely
reasoning,
not what we're thinking. That is
the reasoning was
bullshit.
Yeah, the reasoning
ridiculous.
that he said that is because we say that the old world was one worldwide civilization. So because of that, that means we're globalists, which are communists. He just forgets the bit where we say it was peaceful, there was no war, everyone was helping each other and working together. You know, forgets that bit.
Ewok, to answer Christopher. And so I believe that there's been a more technological advance than what they claim. Like there had to be some sort of electricity, most likely throughout the past, as well as seafaring trading society throughout the world, throughout the history, and that they were more united. It might not have been under one structure or this one Tartarian empire or anything like that. And it was most likely the way I see it and suspect, and what makes most sense is that you see at these original world fairs, these extremely intricate, like the Korean building or the Germanic building, or, you know, each different country or nation or people's like home, essentially what we have now, oh gosh, embassies, right? Like a embassy essentially, or the Chinatowns, and how there's like a Chinatown or a little Italy or whatnot in every trading port city or big city. It essentially was probably more like that back then. And
I have kind of started to wonder if maybe these World's Fair sites, that they were there because there was actually, at the time of this last reset, an actual World's Fair where they were having one fair, but it was different locations around the world. And so you could go to the fair in your location. And they had, it was one big ass fair, but it was, it's kind of like
maybe
Disney,
it was,
where you have Disneyland and Disney World and Euro Disney and Disney Japan, but it was at one time. But it's the same thing. It's like, we're gonna have, hey guys, we're gonna throw a World's Fair. Let's build a site here. Okay, let's build 50 sites around the world, 100 sites around the world. But then when we came in, we said, okay, well, we've got to make an excuse for all these weird sites. Let's have a fair here and a fair here, and then one over here and one over here, and let's burn them all down so nobody asks any questions.
Yeah, well, maybe they knew the apocalypse was coming, and it was like, all right, we need to have one last really big party, guys.
Or those remnants from before the apocalypse reset or whatnot, and could have been from the time of the giants, Atlanteans, who knows, right? Because they're such big ones, and that it's called Romanesque architecture, but all this Romanesque architecture is literally 10 times too big for us sized people of today. And that was it from the time before the Noahide floods, and when there were giants on those days.
You know, I think y'all were talking earlier in the group chat about giants eating people, and was that Was that
Yeah.
you, BurnEye? Okay. And I want to make a point about that. That my thinking is that there were probably giants that were bad, but I
Yeah.
also think there were giants that were good. I think they're human.
And
I
so
And that
agree.
we are human, and
Totally.
there's good people, there's bad people. Even good people have bad days. Okay.
Yep.
And I think that
absolutely.
I think
Even
that
a giant can get pissed off and, you know,
yes, yes,
on mistake eat a few people.
And,
they
well,
weren't-
and
they weren't
here's the
perfect.
thing
We're
too,
not perfect.
is
But
that
this is what we see in
they
the
were-
world.
I
you
think
know?
that there was like they were probably the dominant humanoid societies, cities, populations before like the last like cycle of like the Kali Yuga, the grand cycle of the time of Atlantis or the Younger Dryas, the time of the megafauna that, you know, there was giant beavers, giant sloths, giant mammoths, giants, freaking everything. So probably giant humans during that time too. And at that time they were like a united, like a productive people, societies, builders, everything. And that whatever happened, the cataclysm, and then the remainers, that they then were like forced into confrontation and competition and violence or whatnot with what was left afterwards. And especially as just the very last or few or the population dwindled and the last of the survivors of the giants essentially would have automatically become like aggressive, defensive, afraid, and like attacking humans because we were hunting, wiping
And
them
I
out.
don't think there was a
Yeah, we were
lot of
hunting
the
them,
really
that's
big
right.
giants. I think that there was much
Well, there's-
smaller numbers of
There's
them.
giants and there's big people. We've got, you know, in a lot of the art we see, you know, giants, but they're sort of 12, 13 foot. You know, they're not the 60-foot ones, you know. And
Right.
then we have titans, right? So, yeah, there's a few different types of them.
Yeah. Yes. A bunch of different types of them. I mean, and I even think it goes the other way too. I think there was little people.
Yes.
This
We've got
covers
evidence
both
of
of
that
it
as
right
well.
here. This video I loaded. Have you guys heard of Terry Carter YouTube channel?
No.
Oh,
Is he the dude with the beard? Is he the one who goes hunting the little people?
No,
No,
not to my
no.
knowledge. I don't think he's got a beard. He's based out of Utah, and he's started out as a gold treasure hunter and then gold prospector, and then has actually found and located and talked to about 6 or 7 different cave discovery sites in Utah area, Grand Canyon areas, of burial mounds of giants, buried Spanish treasures, buried Templar treasures, as well as he's also connected with many of the different First Nations elders and gotten their stories as well throughout the areas there, and does meetups. And this is one of his interviews of at one of the meetups of all of these treasure hunter prospector people, of a guy that runs a museum in the Superstition Mountains. And this guy tells about all the stories of the little people and of the giants of these areas. If you don't mind me playing it, it's about 10 minutes, probably. Really good.
Cool. Make it full screen, maybe.
Other people, including giants. And during all this melee of confusion, they said the rains finally stopped after raining for weeks nonstop. And then they described what looked like a white mist down, burning their skin. Flood that happened about 3,000 years ago. And as the Pimas were climbing this mountain to escape the floodwaters, according to the Pimas, they talked about the clouds being ripped open like a zipper and strong beams of light coming down, burning their skin, almost as if God trying to prevent them from escaping. And it said, and it also lightened their skin, or darkened their skin. And when they got to the top of the mountain, they noticed they weren't alone. There were others up there, animals, other people, including giants. And during all this melee of confusion, they said the rains finally stopped after raining for weeks nonstop. And then they described what looked like a white mist came down on top of them, turning people into stone. The giants were all turned into stone up there. And today, when you go up there, you see these hoodoos that have human features in them. And these are believed that what were the giants that were up there in this mountain at that. They were constantly killing their braves. Finally, they had to stand against one of these giants. It took them a couple of weeks to kill it. And not long, they left the body set there to rot. This one, according to the Pimas, was between 12.5 to 13 feet tall. They let it set there in the interior of the superstitions, and it rotted. They come out a year later, and the Pima chief grabbed one of the femurs that stood close to about 4.5 to 5 feet tall, and he used it as a walking stick, more of a trophy over this giant that they killed. And these were some of the creatures that were living in this mountain. The giants, they said, lived in here right after they came into this region right after the volcano exploded a few thousand years later and settled in here. They were always very vicious. They attacked the Apaches. They attacked the Hohokam as well as the Pimas. These things were nothing to be messed with. According to the Pimas, they would rip the heads off their braves, lift their bodies up and drink their blood, and then toss their bodies when they were done. In some cases, they actually devoured the bodies and leaving nothing behind except for splatters of blood. These went on in here. Actually, the last giant that was killed in here was about 500 years ago. And that is when the Pimas, according to their oral history, is when they killed this giant. And there hasn't been any in there since that time. I think he was the last remaining giant. Both the Apaches and the Pima battled these things for hundreds of years, and they feared these giants because they said that no arrows could kill it. You know, they tried different methods to try to battle these giants, and every time they did, all they were doing were losing more braves. So they attacked. One final attack, they actually sent about 20 guys swarm in on this giant. And even with 20 braves, this thing was still able to kill about half of them before they finally brought this giant down. And the chief was so excited over finally killing this thing, they left it setting in the interior of the superstitions for about a year. When they come back, all it is a giant skeleton. And the Pima chief wanted a trophy of this, you know, and he took the femur. Like I said, it stood about 4.5 to 5 feet tall, and he used it as a walking stick. And that is the story of the giants that lived in here. Many of the other stories in here that are equally as fascinating, and people still see them today, are the story of the little people. According to the Apaches, they revered them as fierce warriors, but even the Apaches, as fierce as they were, they even feared these things because they were known to be cannibalistic. During one of the battles against the Navajo, these things actually joined the Apaches in battle. In the Navajo, in their oral history, they talked about one of their braves fell from his horse, and they were horrified because they said these little creatures swarmed on him, on that brave, and they described it as ripping the flesh off them, and it horrified the Navajo to no end. And I think that's why the Apaches utilize them so often, because when their opponents would see what they were doing, it would strike fear into these people to the point where the Navajos were on the verge of retreat. They were so fearful of these little hobbit-looking characters, and they were always to be known to have superhuman strength, and they were nothing to be messed with. I talked to the Duncan family. They're like the ambassadors for the Apaches out here. And they said, oh, yes, they did live in and around their encampments, but even they feared them because they were known to, you know, eat humans and stuff. So these are just some of the stories that have really fascinated me the entire time I've been working with the museum. I get to talk to a lot of people that are very credible people that have been in here. And then when we get the Apaches coming in, a lot of these stories can be confirmed by them. There's a wealth of knowledge. The giants. were something that I think all the cultures, the Pima, the Hohokam, the Apaches, and the Pima had to deal with for thousands of years in here. This was a very frightening mountain range to go into when you had little hobbits running around attacking people. You had giants in there. It was a very a place that most people feared even going into. Miners had encounters in there at times that they could not explain. They thought were a group of small children running around, only to find out later that these were not children at all. These were little hobbit-like troll-looking characters. And according to the Apaches and the Pima, they disappeared with the water. And a lot of people couldn't understand what that meant. Well, in the interior of this mountain, there used to be dozens of springs all over. And when they dried up, they disappeared. It wasn't until a lot of people were doing research in Mexico, realizing that the ones in Mexico were coming up through the cenotes. And that's what they believed that these little people were doing as well. That they came in through the waterways up onto the surface to hunt for food, and then would go back and into these aquifer systems where they believe they still live to this day. They've been spotted along the Mogollon Rim for one main reason. There's large bodies of water up there. Parks officials still see them to this day. The last sighting of a little person was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago by someone from the Bureau of Land Management. He was on horseback riding through here, checking out the interior. And what he saw angered him. He thought somebody let their little child run naked out in the interior. And he goes, who in their right mind would let a child run loose out here? And when he starts calling down to the thing, it takes off running from him, only to reappear again. But this time he gets a better look at it. And he realized this is no child. He's looking at, he's got a good look at the face. It's got a wrinkled face, jagged teeth, and it's holding a little weapon in his hand like a spear. So at this time, he's not angry. Now he's frightened. He's looking at something. He knows it. He shouldn't exist. So now he's drawing his gun and he's going down there towards it. And it ran into a labyrinth of rocks. And he spent a time looking for it. Could never find it again. So these are just some of the stories that natives, including miners, even Jacob Waltz, had encounters in here that he could not explain at all. He said it was time that he would not sleep. He would go to sleep with his gun in his hand because there were things happening out there that he couldn't understand that even frightened veteran miners like Jacob Waltz. For me at the museum, I love these stories. I mean, I heard nothing but mining stories the whole time I was there. Then I started talking to some veteran miners, and I started talking to some of the Apaches, and they started telling me these stories of these giants and these little people that inhabited this mountain for thousands of years. And these really fascinated me. I mean, to the point where I did so much research on it and come to find out that it's in all of their oral histories, both the Pima, the Apache, the Hohokam, even the Anasazis that were here for a period of time. They feared these giants and they feared these little people. They were nothing to be messed with. Apparently they had superhuman strength. Now you can imagine an ant can lift 100 times its own weight. These little things could too. They talked about them lifting up stones that would weigh hundreds of pounds that most humans couldn't even lift up. But yet these little trolls could lift them up with great ease and throw them at people. It's just one of these, I don't know where to go with this other than that this mountain it's always been fascinating. I think that's why there's such a big draw to this mountain. People from all over the world come here. They're either coming here looking for treasure, they're looking for gold, or they're trying to find out more of these stories of these giants and these little people. There's always been a big thirst of knowledge when it comes to this mountain, people wanting to know more and more. And the more you dive into this, the more it opens up about these stories in here, and they're just fascinating. You know, some people say, oh, this couldn't happen. I go, you know what? The oral history of the Apache that was told 2,000 years ago, it's still taught the very same thing. Nothing is deviated at all. I mean, their stories are the same as they were 2,000 and 3,000 years ago. And it's fortunate that, you know, they didn't have a written language. So they used a lot of their history all through oral, was an oral history. A lot of it was carved in stone, their history. But they still hold true to these stories, and they believe them to be true just like someone would believe the Bible to be true. To me, I always loved it. It's a spooky mountain range to go into. But when you got all this stuff in here, it's just one of these stories that I've always been fascinated. Even when I was a kid living in California, I heard stories of giants that roamed around the Santa Barbara area, devouring, taking the heads off people, drinking its blood, and just tossing bodies. So these were stories that even as a kid that I was fascinated. And then I come here, moved to Arizona, and finding out that these stories are worldwide. They're universal everywhere. These stories are being told all over the planet. And, you know, so it was easy for me to really spend a lot of my time researching this. And every day I go there, I talk to people from all over the country, sometimes from around the world, and they love these stories. And then to come down that these stories were told in England. I talk to people from different parts of Europe, and they also have stories of giants. So these stories of giants were not regulated to one area of the world. These stories were scattered all over. Apparently, giants were the alpha predator on this planet for years. And you hear about stories of giants and fairy tales. There's a lot of truth behind a lot of these stories. I mean, there were a lot of giants. They did exist. And for some people said they still do in the interiors of Alaska. Alaska, there's a place called the Headless Valley. For years, the Native Americans would never settle in there, and the Alaska natives would never settle in there. They were fearful, and they said these weren't Bigfoot, hairy men. These were people like us, but on a massive scale, and they looked at humans as food. So even people from the Interior Department try to discourage people from going into this area because there's too many cases. They've actually found bodies scattered around, all of them with their heads not chopped off, peeled off, and void of blood. Really creepy when it comes to these stories of giants. I can understand that you're really into the giant stories too. And I know in Utah they had giants that roamed there, and I heard that they had floating, almost like a pontoon. They lived on these floating. There was a lake in Utah that they lived on.
That was in Nevada.
That was in Nevada?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was watching some topic on that, and they said they had these floating reefs, kind of like they do in South America. They lived on these floating barges that they made. Anything else you want to know? I can.
So I appreciate Steve for sharing your knowledge with us. And if you guys are ever in the Apache Junction area, man, make sure you stop in at the Lost Dutchman Museum and say hi to Steve. And with that, Steve, man, I appreciate it. And that's a wrap.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
That was cool. Interesting. I saw somebody was talking, I forget who it was, but they were asking about Sears kit homes. I don't know if you know what a Sears kit home is, Bernie, but what a Sears kit home is back when you had the Sears and Roebuck catalog, which I'm sure you've heard about, you could actually go and you're muted, Bertie. You could actually go and
I'm listening.
Take a you could look in the Sears and Roebuck catalog for what was called a Sears kit house, and you could order an entire house. And what they would do is they would send you on a train your house, and it would be in bundles of wood and packages and boxes with everything, every nail, every board cut, measured to size.
IKEA Lego house, essentially, and this is long before the 3D printed houses, like a straight IKEA style house.
The only thing you would have to do is get the they would take the wood, the package off of it would come in several packages. They would take it off the train and then transport it to your job site, and then you would have to hire a contractor, or you could build it yourself, but most of the time you would hire a contractor, and they would build the house from the plan, the blueprints that were provided, and they would build a house, and they just put it together. It was already, everything was cut, it was like a big Lego set. And there is one of these Sears kit houses about 5 miles away from me, and I pass it all the time. It's now a funeral home. But that being said, the damn thing looks just as old world as I don't know what.
Really?
You're muted, Campbell.
So it might have been like them taking them apart from places and then shipping them out almost.
No. I'm thinking that the
Maybe-
Kit House is a bullshit narrative story.
Okay, I gotcha. I see what you're saying.
That's how
But
they
I
can
don't
explain
know.
that there were abandoned houses. Or was the Kit House, is that because when we look at these buildings, it looks like they're components, right? Like you literally get different components and put them together and you've got this building. Is that how they were doing housing? Maybe in the world,
Yeah,
maybe
I'll show you that house, just so you know what I'm talking about. But if you look at the churches where you had the different components to the churches, where you'd have one steeple or two steeple, a square top steeple, or they'd have those different things, and I think that those are kind of kit too.
Yeah, they look like it, don't they? And I was just going to say as well, Hippies said that DN is in the hospital. He collapsed and is in a coma. So thoughts out to DN. We've all seen him in moments.
Wow.
Let's hope everything is good.
Prayers and healing energy for DN. That's no good. Yeah.
That was terrible. About what was the guy that passed away? That
Ross, hidden history.
Yeah.
I know, that's
That was
shocking.
sad.
And then last year we lost Rob Skiba. There was actually a few other ones from the sort of greater flat earth community went. So this is the thing, right? Like there's, we all know people are, dropping like flies because of certain things, but it also seems that there's a lot of people, passing on that haven't had that. So I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. Just eat well, people. Look out for buses.
Okay, I'm gonna share the screen. I'm just gonna show you this Kit House. This is a funeral home now.
That's a kit home.
That is a kit home.
That is one good kit.
And it looks just as old world as anything else.
Doesn't it?
This portion here with the brick is new. They added that. But the Kit House is what is referred to is this portion.
Yeah.
But you would
they are wooden. Do you know that it is wooden? Because I have seen a couple of buildings that are clad in wood, but they're actually brick.
I honestly don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
But I mean, look at a kit. How would and what was this was what around 1900 we're talking about, like 1800s that they were doing this.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, or maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the dates. I have the catalogs actually with this house in it.
Got a flooded window. I'm just thinking, how did they transport it back in the day? That's a
and
big
across
house.
the street, there's another beautiful house right here.
Oh, wow.
That is, I suspect, is old.
And so that's not a kit home.
Now this is 5 miles away from me. This is a very small town, a very, very, very tiny town called Benson, North Carolina. And there is hardly a stoplight. But if you go right down the street, down Main Street, right down the street here, we got this sucker right here. This was a bank originally. It's a library now, and it goes 12 feet down right there on the side.
Nice.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff. And if you go right down the road here, there's another one of these houses.
Another one.
And then you go around the corner, and there's another one right up the way here. Now, this one actually is right now owned by a famous rapper a female rapper, and she's actually trying to sell it now. But she's actually the owner of this house now.
Really?
But you know,
which one? It's not that the one that's making a really big splash, is it?
You
know what I
well,
mean.
honestly, I don't know. I know that I know a little bit about her, but not enough to talk about her. It's I have a person that knows the person.
Maybe I need to get into rapping. All these rappers seem to be really rich.
Now this building's really weird. It goes right on into the ground.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
But this is a small, tiny little town. I mean, we've got these all over Australia. Like you go out in the middle of the desert, you go into this little town and you see buildings like this. It's everywhere.
Right? Like, it's bizarre.
And they've got churches that are amazing. I mean, this is just a little tiny town. There's nothing, special about
the
this
questions,
town.
right? So when this was built, where were they getting all the clay? Where were they getting all the bricks, all the iron, all the glass? How were they transporting it? Who was building it? Where was the warehousing?
I worked on this house right here. This is called the Peacock House, and I can confirm that it has a basement. This is a very old house. Matter of fact, it does not. This room right here, they wanted to put a bathroom up. There was no bathroom upstairs. There's a huge upstairs area and no bathroom. Matter of fact, there was no bathroom on the house, and they actually built a bathroom on an extension on the back of the house, but there was no plumbing and no bathroom.
We have
those. One of the kit houses that came without a bathroom.
No, this was not a kit house.
That wasn't a kit house. Like, that's what a dunny is. A dunny is a toilet that's not attached to the house, and that's what every house had, these dunnies. But at the same time, we've apparently got these massive masonry buildings that are 70, 80 years older and still have no bathroom. They could build them, but yeah, none of the houses back then had bathrooms. They're all the houses in Australia just have, like, they sort of put a lean-to out the back and turn that into the bathroom, because they pretty much all had like a wet area, and that became a laundry, and then they fill them in. But
another thing they used in the old world, which a lot of people don't understand or know about, is what's called wind catchers. Have you looked into that?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of what you've done on that. Yeah, air conditioning. Is that the air conditioning ones?
Well, yeah, it's it's not like air conditioning like we talk about air conditioning. It was more of an air circulation,
airflow.
Although they did have the ability to run it into the ground down to cold water aquifers, and then run the air across the cool water and back up, and it would cool the air. But that was much less common.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember in Australia back in the 70s. If you went out in the country, everyone had like these like Hessian bags, and you'd hang them on your bull bar, your roo bar at the front of your car, and fill them with water. And so when you were driving, it would evaporate, and you'd always have ice cold water. And it was just a bag, right? Now everyone goes out and buys a $500 fridge to put in their car so they can have a cold bottle of water. It's just like, the tech was just made a lot more sense. It was a lot more simplistic back there. But the thing is, right, you had to actually get out of your car and get it off, pour it into a glass. I mean, bit much effort, right?
The technology, the way it worked was that you had an input and an output for the main flow, and the input you can see is usually a large opening on the top of a building. And where we look at it and we go, oh, that's a bell tower. It's not a bell tower.
The bell
air input. And then they would have mechanics that they could open and close shutters. And depending on which shutter you opened, allowed more or less airflow to go to certain sections of the building. And then when you got to the section of the building you were in, you had what were called portholes. And portholes could be, a lot of times were round, but then you also had these windows that were on a swivel, and what they would do is they would open certain windows in certain sections of the building, and it would allow more airflow into the building, into that actual room. And they had compartments that moved through the building inside the walls, and that's how they would move the air. But then you also had an output, because the air would come in, it would circulate around, and then it would output. So you had fresh air coming in, which was a problem for us, because when our people came in, we sealed the buildings because we wanted HVAC, and when we sealed the buildings, we didn't have fresh air. So we had problems with creating systems that could bring in enough fresh air. We screwed it up. We broke the systems, and a lot of this stuff was just taken out. But you can still find it.
On purpose too, because now they charge people, right, for air conditioning. But I mean, it's also, it just shows you that, you know, this question of could we build these buildings? You know, and we talk about designing them, but really, like I said before, could we build them as they are? Because all this stuff, right, that's got to be designed into it. All these air ducts and stuff, like we don't think like that today. So as far as actually being able to design one of these buildings, I mean, apart from the fact it would take years, I just don't think that, you know,
my friend who
could do it, because I don't understand the concepts.
The guy I'm working for right now, he owns a major demolition company, and he tells me about how some of these buildings are very difficult to tear down, but it tears his equipment up all the time, because they go in to tear them down, and the brick is so hard to get down, it just destroys his equipment. And they're constantly having to fix equipment, to replace equipment. It's unreal. And it's like every time they go in to do one of these old buildings, that there's always something that wasn't on the plans, on the architectural plans, or on the blueprints, or there's no history of it, and it really screws them up. And so they actually, this is one thing I learned from him, is he actually puts into his contracts a clause that states, okay, we will do X number of things to demolish this building. However, if we get to a point where, well, I don't know, we find another basement, well, there's going to be another charge.
It's going to be extra, yeah.
There's going to be more money.
Yeah, well, that's what.
It's really interesting that they know that.
Have you seen any of his interviews? He studies the old newspaper articles, and he's just got so many when they dig down in the ground. Waking up with analog.
I've heard,
and,
Ben, waking up with analog. We're gonna Cambell as well. I've got Ben scheduled for us next week to do another episode too.
Well, there we go. Waking up with analog. So yeah, I mean, there's so much under the ground, right? Like, you know, we have this saying, you know, standing on the shoulders of giants, but I think it's more apt to say, you know, building on the giant buildings, right? We're just building on the past. Like and that's why we have, you know, these cathedrals and that, they clearly were built on energy points, right? And you have the first thing, and then it gets rebuilt into something else, and there's always something on that spot. But we just don't understand how this realm works. Everything's fields, apparently.
Yeah, we're very ignorant of how it actually works, no doubt.
We're taught everything's straight lines, but everything's actually curves.
Yes. I mean, my thinking is that energy runs in, let's say, a flower of life. It's you know, I'm not doing that right, but in and out, in and out.
The archangels, man.
I don't see like a ley line as a straight line. It might go from here to there, but it goes from here to there in a wave.
Yeah, like a slow arc. Yeah, like the flower of life.
I've suspected that the flower of life could be the blueprint for the ley line system.
Someone talking to my AutoDidactic. Check your stream settings. I'm like, am I quiet again? Okay. I will check my settings.
You sound fine to me. I think me and Bernie might sound louder.
Okay. Oh, okay. My mic volume is down. Okay. Is that better? I'm probably really loud now.
Yeah, you went louder. Yeah, you did.
Okay, how's that?
Yeah,
Wow.
that yeah, you definitely.
I mean,
jumped up.
bloody
I thought it was my
technology, right?
volume earlier.
I've got a volume on my speaker, but no, you've got to go into the program you're on and adjust that volume as well. There's probably a third volume on the computer.
I guess mine's. I don't know.
Is that
I
better?
don't ever.
Is that better? Does my
I don't ever
sound-
mess with mine. I think mine's okay.
oh gosh, you think I'd know how to do a live stream by now, wouldn't you?
No,
Every time it's like a little bit different, though, right?
I screw it up every time.
Oh, now someone's saying it's too loud. Am I too loud? Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do.
It's not easy to do streaming.
How about I just speak in a really soft tone, and then everyone will be happy.
All right, Levy. Oh man. Let's see.
All right. Well, I might have to jump off soon. We've been here a couple of hours. You've been going.
Oh, you
3
gotta wait
hours.
for another like 10 or 15 minutes.
I have to wait, do I?
Julia and Brittany, Truth Fairy, are joining, and they just would like to meet you fellows and ask a couple questions, and then invite you onto their channels for a future show, if possible. So,
oh my gosh,
if you can, it would be appreciated. If not, understandable.
Okay.
And thank you, Super Inquisitor. Apparently, my voice is always soothing.
It
and
truly
it's like,
You do. You do have a very soothing voice, Cambell.
Is it soothing?
I'm more like a bull in the china shop.
Oh, actually, I'll play this one. This one is good. This is another Terry Carter one. 10 minutes, and like what you're seeing.
My videos, you know. Oh, look, there's one. I reckon. Look at that. GMO humans. Oh, history does repeat. Oh, okay.
This is like the drawing of the female like queen giant of the Burrows cave that was there, and then there's also a king next to her, and they had these headpieces or whatnot. But that's a whole nother episode for another time.
I don't think I'm subscribed to him. Who? Terry Carter? Let me check that, because I don't think I'm subscribed.
Terry
to him.
Carter.
Terry Carter, right here. Great stuff. I'll post the link in the private chat and
yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Live chat as well.
I got a question for you while you're on. You got a minute?
Yeah.
Kind of a hypothetical question, and a lot of things that I've been thinking about for a while and wondering why there's so much blockage on anybody.
Sorry, I just paused it for half a sec. So he's also going to display some of the different artifacts that are found in. There's like the Burroughs Cave, the Illinois Cave. Oh goodness, there's like 6 of them that he's gotten in contact with the people and shown some of their artifacts and all of the stuff, as well as Harry Hubbard's collection, Cambell, and I will get a hold of Harry for us to finally have him on for our part 2 of Egypt in America series.
All right. I mean, yes.
Up a giant. Do you think that they're related to aliens?
Oh, wow. That
or high tech?
Well, that's a good question. Anything's possible, I mean,
right,
we don't know where they come from, I guess. That's why I would like to get in and verify them and know that they really are real. And I guess from that we could do some DNA testing and stuff like that, and see where it leads.
Yeah, those crystal balls in that cave that Johnny Deere found.
Yeah, I didn't know he had crystal balls.
You didn't, did you?
Nope, I didn't know about the crystal balls.
There's a bunch of crystal balls in there that are highly polished. They're beautiful. Okay.
Okay.
And there's little metal cups. They look like cups, but they're not hollow. They're not hollow. Okay.
Okay.
They got a little depression in the top where you could sit a crystal ball on it. If that's what you do with it, I don't know.
Right.
And so I thought about that for a long time. I mean, I've known about that for 35 years.
Yeah.
I was talking to a nuclear physicist who's a a scientist that's probably got more patents that NASA uses than any guy alive. And he had a little pen in his pocket. It looked like a pen. And I said, what's that? He says, that's my a light I invented. And he pulled it out, and the little end of it had a little crystal about the size of an eraser for a pencil.
Uh-huh.
He turned it on, and it was so bright, it about blinds you.
Really?
And he says, this will go for 250,000 hours. Then I recharge it by touching this little element on there. And I said, what the heck? He says, when you polish beryllium crystal, and he says you put plutonium next to it, it activates it and it'll make the ball glow.
Really? So you think
Yeah,
that's some
I thought-
kind of a light then, huh?
Mhm. And he says, depends if, he said some plutonium will last for 9 years, and some will last for so many years, some will last for 250,000 years. And so I went back where Johnny's cave was, and I set my frequencies for beryllium, and guess what it went on?
Brilliant.
Beryllium.
Really?
Then I set it for plutonium, and guess what? It's there too.
Wow.
So it's just pretty strange. Don't know what to think about it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a mystery. You obviously know a lot more about it than I do.
Yeah.
I'm just curious of who they were. They're so tall, and that they had metal works. And now I guess other types of works you're telling me.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but they had other stuff inside that cave that's very unusual. For one, there's a drawing on the wall of some kind of spacecraft.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Was it? Let me ask you this: was it drawn in? Was there any blue pigments used on the drawings?
I'm not sure. It could kind of I would say more of a grayish color, but it could have a little blue pigment in it.
So it was gray. There wasn't any colored blue.
When you go in that cave, Johnny's cave, which is pretty well covered now with a landslide, it looks like a natural tunnel. When you get in very far, it's not. And the walls are polished like glass.
Huh.
Recordings just got better.
Oh.
At least it was advertising for StreamYard, or
I know, right?
worthy company.
Maybe that's what I need to get.
For example, what Stephen found, and what I found, I have gone from one end of Sanpete County to the other, and I have found, like Stephen, I have found hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of burials. But they're usually at the base of a mountain, but the slough off over eons of time has buried it.
Huh.
And that's the problem with it. They're deep.
Or a dinosaur.
So, I know what we got. I got no question on it anymore. And the fact that Stephen has dug up 3 of the woolly mammoths.
Yeah.
And they were there. And the professor dug up the Camus Rex that he found. Stephen's going down tomorrow to find some more dinosaurs for some people.
Huh.
And they'll dig them and they'll be there. So I've got no question, Terry, on the technology. But one thing I absolutely know, and I've proven it many times over, and that's this. Gold has a frequency here in Sanpete County. If you go to another area, the atomic spacing varies a little bit, and it's not the same frequency.
Okay, I agree with that, yeah.
Oh, God, I went to Wyoming last week and shot a sight for some guys, and I pulled out a piece of gold and checked it. It would not resonate at the same frequency, so I tweaked it to lock onto the gold that I had. And that worked, and it was two divisions off.
Wow.
And that those other resonators are not working. They only have one setting, and they don't know that.
Huh.
So,
yeah, I can believe that. Well,
you know enough about physics, don't you?
No, I don't, but I've heard you talking about it, and man, you talk right over my head. But I do know that gold, in different areas is different. Made up different compositions. It's not all the same.
Well, it's a different composition, but it goes beyond that because the gold I have here resonated at a certain frequency, but the same gold in another area resonates at a different frequency because the cosmic energies and anomalies change the atomic spacing a little bit.
Mm.
And And so all of the gold in that area will resonate at the same frequency, even gold you brought to the area. That's what's going on.
Wow.
And if you get a good solar flare, it'll even change where you live. Not very often.
Really?
And I tried iron, and I had its frequency, and I wouldn't lock onto it. So I started tweaking it, and I locked onto it, and at the time it changed 4 divisions.
Wow.
So I got a sample kit now. Every place I go, I check the frequency of what it will resonate in that area at that time of day.
Huh.
So that's the secret, my friend. That's the big secret.
Well, I'm definitely interested. I want to get to the bottom of this, and I would like to get the archaeologists in there to prove to the world that, yeah, this stuff is real. You just need one. We just need one.
We got to prove it.
We just
I've
need one.
seen it, but you know what? As far as most people are concerned, they think I'm a screwball. And so I've got to exonerate myself and show it.
Yep.
Is this from America? This
the thing is, they do exist. More people than me needs to know it.
Well, I believe it's true. I believe they
Yes,
exist.
all
I would like
the stuff
to,
from within
still, I'd like
West,
to validate
Eastern
that,
US.
with the archaeology.
Yeah, because that last one had uniform
Definitely
characters
get a
in.
good video.
Right.
That's what I've been working on too lately. Is I got me a good
Well,
video
Baxter
camera.
to help me, John Baxter, twice, and he's not interested.
I don't think he really believes in them, but if we find one, then he can't. Plus, he's super busy. But if we find one, there's no denying it. I mean, if they can see them themselves, measure them themselves, they can't
You know what the
deny it.
material is? What that black material
Maybe
is?
he is just super busy.
Oh,
and he doesn't believe in it enough to divert any time.
Yeah, he definitely is super busy. He is swamped. In fact, he's hired him a couple more archaeologists to work with him.
And see, every one of those has got cuneiform at the top.
Wow. You
Like
know
the
what's
name
really,
on it.
what's frustrating to me is this technology is so good, but there's so much out there that nobody's going to believe it.
Yep.
Until you bring one out. You know, I asked one guy to come and do a site with me and to prove it to him, and he says, I'd do that. But I said, will you do a write-up on my machinery? And he said, no. And I said, why? And he said, I don't want anybody to use it but me. I said, well, you said it. I couldn't believe he said that.
What are these tablets called?
So I'm not going to deal with it.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's not going to do me any favors. I'm not going to do him any favors. He just cut himself out of the favor.
I have no idea.
Yep.
I've got 4 people
Interesting.
that done write-ups on my technology, but I want more.
Yeah.
If you want to look at my website,
What's your website?
Terra Firma Assayers. Terra.
Hold on. I've lost my pen. Hold on.
Terra.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah.
Ayers. Terra Firma Assayers. So like Terra Firma Assayers, and if it doesn't come up, type in www.terrafirmaassayers.com.
Terraformer Assayers.
And I've got some of Johnny Brewer's plates on there, and I got my warranty and my guarantee. And my guarantee is if I say there's gold someplace and there's not, they get all the money back.
Yeah.
That's 100%.
Okay.
So, but yeah, just look at it, and if you want to, send it to your friends, whatever. But
I will.
I got my warranty there, and some stories and stuff in there. So anyway, well, good. If you can get that guy, I'll just keep doing what I.
All right. It's pretty much over there.